Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Madeline from Madelyn Guitar. We're on week 2 of our beginner series here, which will be a 10-week series. And hopefully by the end of 10 weeks you can play some cool stuff on the guitar. So whether you were gifted a guitar or you got one for the holiday or whatnot, this will definitely help you out. And if you need to look back at week 1, I'll have the link in the video description. Okay, so let's go on to week 2. Here we go. Okay, here we go. We've changed our camera angle so things are a little easier to see. We're going to start off by taking the warm-up exercise from last week's video and making that basically a little more advanced. We're going to introduce a very important right-hand technique called alternate picking. And what that means is instead of playing each note one time with a downstroke, like last time we did this, one stroke, one hit per note, we're going to do 2 strokes per note. And the idea is to try to hug the string with the right hand. So the notes aren't going to change. We're just going to play them twice as many times. So here's what that would look like. Here's the first finger. I'm going to do a downstroke from like last time. And then an upstroke. And I go to the next finger, the second finger. I do the same thing. Down, up. Third finger, down, up. And then finally the pinky, down, up. Now what's really important for the right hand is, again, we want to have that anchor on the body, that support system with your forearm and a finger or whatever combination, multiple fingers. That's our bridge with our support columns. So that should be making contact with the body when you're picking. And basically, when you do the upstroke, just all you need is enough movement to get back to the string. You want to avoid this kind of stuff, like going down and going way far down. Then when you go up, you'll end up hitting the wrong string or just not knowing where you're at. So that's what's most frustrating for people when they first learn alternate picking, is they don't have the support system in place for the right hand, and they don't really know the distance between the string or how much of a length of stroke to get through the string. It doesn't take a lot. You can see it's barely any movement at all. But again, when you're starting out, you're going to have a lot of wide, kind of over-exaggerated movements. That's just the way it is until your body gets used to it. So that is the exercise. It's the same notes, but each one's played 2 times. So it's more of the right hand being worked than it is so much of the left hand. But same rule applies. You want to watch your thumb position for the left hand. Make sure your fingers are nice and curved. Don't let them do the little jig, you know, doop, 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 doop. Don't let them do that. So I'm going to go through the exercise once, nice and slow. Here's what it's going to look like. So down and upstroke for each note. The next string. This is where it's very important to watch the width of your stroke or the length of the stroke. Here's the D string, the G, the B, and finally the high E. And I'll work my way backwards. So I'm going to start with the pinky now. Here's the B string. And don't be afraid to watch the right hand a lot, especially when you're crossing strings. Here's a D string. A string. Low E string. Okay, and that basically is what helps the right hand develop a very strict habit of alternate picking. And that's what's going to happen when we go to do our scales. It's going to be a lot of alternate picking. You're not going to sit there and downstroke, you know, unless you're doing a James Hetfield riff. But this is very, very important. And again, you have to maintain the support system in the right arm and also in the fingers on the right hand. It's got to be very solid. It shouldn't feel like you're floating. It should feel like it's fairly stable. That's very, very, very important. And if it gets confusing, just sit there with an open string and and just try to alternate pick the open string. And just get used to how wide you have to go. It doesn't take a whole lot of movement in the right hand, so that makes a big difference getting used to that. Okay, so that is the next level of the warm-up exercise, and then the next video will take that to the next level. So it's an ever-evolving exercise. And really, that's one of the best things you can do. If you're short on time, make sure you're always doing that 4-finger exercise. Or a lot of guitar players, and we call it the chromatic exercise, which is kind of like a street name. It's not a true chromatic scale, but it's close enough. Okay, and then moving on to the chords. So last time we looked at 2 chords. We had the G major and the E minor. So today we're going to start by doing the full G major chord. So last week was kind of a introduction to that chord, but we want to do the full 6-string chord. So let me show you that and explain how we're going to use that with the E minor, and there'll be one other chord we're going to do. Okay, so you have the 3rd finger goes on the 3rd fret on the high E string. That's what we had last week. That was our G. So to get the full G, we're going to add the 2nd finger all the way up on the 3rd fret on the low E string. So it's the same fret box as the 3rd finger. Just going to go all the way up. And that's going to require your thumb to potentially drop down lower here on the neck. That's going to open up your hand for a little more stretching. And last time I talked about keeping the thumb on the upper part of the curve. Well, when you need to stretch, that's where you need to expand your reach of your fingers, so you're going to need to drop your hand. You can see my palm is opening up. I'm not hugging the bottom of the neck here. I'm giving it space, and it kind of gets pushed out. My elbow is also kind of in. It's not like a chicken wing way out here. It's in more towards my side. That's going to give me some good support in the hand. All things to kind of consider. So that's the first thing, is setting both those fingers there. Now, the 3rd note is going to be the 1st finger on the 2nd fret on the A string. I'm actually going to move so you can see my hand a little better. Here we go. Okay, so there it is right there. You've got the 2nd finger on the low string, low E string, 3rd fret. 3rd finger on the 3rd fret on the high string, which is what we started with. And now the 1st finger here. Okay? That gives us that full G chord. And with this being put down, again, look at my hand. I'm not doing this. I don't have my elbow way out. I'm not trying to fly. Yay! I'm keeping everything very tight into my body, and then my wrist dropped. This big space here, very important. The space between your palm and the bottom of the neck. Super important for this, for reaching. Once you have that chord down, you're going to strum all 6 strings, and hopefully you get something like this. Okay? That is the full G chord. Now, the beauty of this is the E minor chord that we learned last time looks like this. You have the 1st finger, which is in the same spot for G as it is for E minor, right? You can see I'm kind of like able to pivot off that finger. And this is the first big move we're going to do, is pivoting from E minor to G major. And when you do this, we want to really try to watch certain fingers as they come down, right? So E minor is just the 1st and 2nd finger and the 2nd fret on the A and the D string. And it's, again, the 6-string chord, so everything is being strummed. Now, when we go to the G, what you want to do is make sure the 1st finger stays there, and you can slide it on the fret a little bit if you need to, or if it moves on. You don't have to stay like right there, but you want that finger to stay on that string, and then you bring your 2nd finger, you drop that in, and you bring your 3rd finger next. So it's going to be 1st finger anchors, 2nd drops, 3rd drops. Okay, so here's E minor, anchor, 2nd, 1st, boom. And you get used to that movement. You're not going to have everything just drop in right away. You have to get your fingers trained to do that. But you want to have consistency. I always use the phrase changing up your batting stance. You don't want to change your batting stance every time you step up to the plate. So when you have consistent movements and motions, your body is able to memorize that pattern or that sequence. So with this move, you always want to move second finger, then third finger. And you build that consistency. That'll make it so that eventually both fingers can just drop on at the same time. That's where you get that. So at first it's going to be E minor, and then you're going to boom, boom, strum. And then back to E minor. Okay, and that's the move you want to do. And eventually you can drop at the same time. But it's going to be second finger, third finger, then strum. Okay? And again, when I'm strumming, my right hand, I have contact with the body. I'm not floating. It's, kind of see, my finger's right there. Okay, very important. You actually can see, maybe, yeah, you can see where it's kind of like dug up here on the guitar, which I think is cool as heck. Okay, so that's the first switch, is the E minor to the G. Now the next chord, the new chord I want to show you today, is a D major. So taking E minor again as a reference, move so you can see the hand a little better. So what's going to happen is you're going to move the first finger all the way down. You're going to take it both off. First finger goes down to the second fret on the G string, right there. Second finger goes to the second fret on the high E string. So it's like almost the same shape, but we have a string in between. So we've gone from this, where they're together, to that where now there's a string in between. That's the movement. Okay, and then we're going to add one more finger. The third finger is going to form a triangle. It's going to be the third fret on the B string. So that string that's in the middle is where our third finger is going to go. That's a D major chord. And that one is a 4-string chord. So you're going to skip the low E and the A string. You're going to start with the D string. So 4 strings of strumming. And that chord, a lot of times what happens is you get this. The high E string is clunked out. And what happens is your hand kind of curves in, and the back of the third finger makes contact with the string that's below it. So you want to keep your hand out and that thumb dropped to open up the hand. This is how you get chords cleaner. You'll see some people like myself where we can have the thumb over the top. And that's something that you'll get used to down the road for more control. You lose all your ability to stretch. So when you're first starting out, you don't want to get used to this kind of baseball bat grip. You want to have the thumb dropped so you have that expansion in your hand. Okay, and again, we're going to switch between this D chord and E minor. So going back to E minor, right there. So when I switch to D, my first and second are going to go down. Boom. Right, I got the string in between, and then the third finger comes over, and bang, there it is. That's the movement. Back to E minor. Boom. And it's okay if you go from here and you have one finger, second finger, and third. But you want to try to move these two at the same time as much as you can. Like get those two down, then drop the third finger. Very important. Don't change up your batting stance. Don't do it different every time. Make it very consistent. And that's what's going to build that switching. Okay? And what you're going to do, the last part of the video here, is to go between those 3 chords. So E minor is going to be kind of the pivoting chord. We're going to ping pong off of E minor. You have E minor here, which we're going to go to G, back to E minor, and then to D. E minor, G, E minor, D. If you want, you could do 4 strums. 1, 2, 3, 4, then the G, and E minor, and the D. Okay, so, and you can see when I do the D, my thumb is up over top because that's how I'm used to playing it. So don't do that. Keep it behind when you're doing it. I'm doing the person that's played way too long and stuff. So this is what you're just gonna look a little more like this. There's gonna be a little bit of pause if you put second, third. Then you go back to E minor, a little pause. Then D major, you drop those 2 down. Third, there you go. Pause. Going back. If you can do that for the first, the week of this exercise, so week 2, that will be awesome. And that's going to put you in really good shape for the third video. So hopefully it makes sense. You've got the video to reference back to. And I hope you have fun with it. That is the bottom line. So until next time, bye.